Okay. Well, I want to welcome all of you that enjoy watching my opinion piece before each meeting. This particular opinion will be on the August 10th Exeter Township Supervisors meeting. And I'm going to talk about several items. There's many things in this meeting that are problematic, but I will talk about this in general and get into a little bit of specifics here. And then later on, I'm going to take out clips of this meeting and then have a more lengthy opinion piece on those items. But for now, what I'd like to talk about is one of the issues that I brought up under unfinished business, which is the right to know report that they have under unfinished business. And our current manager, he's confused or they haven't told him the truth about what this report is. I'm starting to believe he might be buying into their hype instead of training them and giving them leadership. But he thinks it was a request by the board to just show the current activity for the current month. I've been here long enough to know that I was here when they created this report. Even Casadis tries to say that he thought it was for the current month, just to report the right to know request. That's not the case, and he knows it. It was originally created to intimidate those people who were requesting information. And it's exploded over the period of time that Mr. Casadis and Mr. Spies have been on the board, because we simply do not trust what our supervisors are doing. And we're finding out that this is the case in many instances where they're not telling us everything about the issues. So it was originally created to put our names on there and then to publish how much it cost the township to acquire the right to know information that was requested. And then when the new board got on, they decided to take our names and the monetary costs off of the report. But the report was relatively new, and now we're finding out that with all these 30-day requests, that you have outstanding requests that aren't being carried forward. They're not being recorded as open. We also have quite a few right to know requests that are currently under appeal with the Office of Open Records. You may have heard them referred to as the OOR. So this is not a comprehensive report. It just shows what came in for the month. And it's quite interesting. They were a little confused over the right to know requests. They didn't know how many there really were for July. I mean, doesn't that tell you that they didn't look at the report? I think so. Mr. Bartlett, the manager, says there were 42. You know, well, you could go to the website and you can open up the report for July and you will count 21. So I don't know, maybe Mr. Bartlett is seeing double. It's hard to say. So they were confused on the number of right to know requests. And then they just picked out one specific one they wanted to talk about related to the noise. But the original purpose was for intimidation. Now, and then that morphed into, well, there was a complaint because it seemed like all of the requests went to 30 days. And we have a video where our former manager, who has many years of experience, claimed that he was putting all of them at 30 days because he wanted to be fair to everyone. Mr. Granger has never been fair to anyone except himself. So everything went to 30 days. And then they used the report to track to prove, oh, look, we've improved, we're doing it in 5 days. But they hide all the 30-day requests. We don't know, we don't get a report back to tell us, well, yeah, it was 30 days, but we did it in 15. So this information should be comprehensive in order to get an average day's reply. And then the ones that are on appeal should be noticed. That should be a report, the appeals report. Casadis exposes his lack of knowledge regarding the right to know law. When he asked the attorney can we bill these people back? Can we charge them for the right to know requests? And the answer to that is simple. You can't do that. And if multiple people request the same document, you have to fulfill it. You are required to by law. And then Mr. Casella says, well, what if the person asked relatively the same thing? Well, most people aren't going to do that. That's ridiculous. At his contention, he claims that a lot of these requests are frivolous. It's a waste of time, he says. Well, Mr. Casades, sometimes it's a waste of time listening to you because you don't know what you're talking about. Your comments about this right to know requirement is obviously showing your ignorance of it. You can't charge people for the right to know request. You can't punish them because they've asked for it more than twice, particularly if it's in different months. Now, if someone's asking for the same document, or many people are asking for the same document often, common sense would tell us that you should put the documents on the Exeter Township website. Then you can refer them to that portion of the website and then they can see the documents right there. A right to know request would not be necessary then. But it really boils down to one thing, the same thing that Mr. Casades and Mr. Speece continue to try to do, which is part of the philosophy of the previous board, and that is suppress as much information as possible from the public. We see it every meeting. We encounter it continually. But it's interesting, how do they get 42 right to know requests in July when if you count them on the report, there's only 21? Only Mr. Bartlett can answer that question. And he doesn't answer all the questions. So we'll see about that one. I'd like to see an enhanced report that comprehensively shows what's outstanding and a legitimate calculation of the average days outstanding. That's really what we should be looking for, but that's not what we're doing. So let me move on to my second issue that I brought up, and that's the golf report. I think you're going to find this conversation very interesting. The golf report, as I say in the video, is going to show a slight, what they will allude to as a profit. And it's just under $6,000, $5,500, somewhere around there. So I just said $6K. They had revenue for the first 7 months of $420,000. But we had expenses of $414,000. Now those expenses are only operating expenses. So it shows up as a $6,000 profit. What it does not include is the depreciation related to the buildings and the equipment that have to be expensed periodically on the income statement. And they finally sent me the depreciation schedule, which is wrong, by the way. They're not depreciating the buildings. They don't have the 2020 equipment depreciation on there. So when I tell you the depreciation number year to date, it's going to be lower than it should be. But for the first 7 months, if you average it out for each month, which is what the accounting practice is, the depreciation charge is $44,000. So based on that information, $6,000 in income, net income, $44,000 in depreciation, we're looking at a $38,000 loss. But it doesn't stop there. We also have to add in the spending for the interest on the bond and the principal that's paid on the bond related to the golf course. And I don't have that information at all. But I'm going to assume that it's a significant number, and that would make the loss on the golf course much larger. I have all my notes here, huge loss, all right? Now, the golf course and the Reading Country Club building, food and beverage, they are our proprietary businesses. That means they're for profit. The information, the financial information should be captured in a way that you can create an income statement and know what your operating results are, whether you're making a profit or not. You'll hear Jennifer Savage say, we can't do it, it's difficult. I disagree with that. I worked in corporate America for 40 years. I did income statements in all kinds of situations. You have to dig for the information and bring it out and summarize it and put it in a readable format. It's called management reporting, okay? So we need a legitimate income statement for the Reading, for the golf course, and eventually for the food and beverage when they get it going. But it's highly unlikely that the golf course will ever be profitable. Unlikely it will even break even at any point in time. But we need to be honest with our residents. We need to tell them the truth. We need to provide them with accurate financial information. And we are not doing that. And I think we should hold our supervisors' feet to the fire and get this information. Because I'm telling you, it's going to show us that the golf course loses money every single year and will continue to do so. Now, that doesn't mean I'm suggesting we get rid of the golf course. I am not. I think it's a wonderful asset that this township has. However, you should not lie to the residents, and the residents can decide if we want to keep such an asset, if we want to continue to subsidize the loss. It's as simple as that. It's called being honest. And our Board of Supervisors are well, let's see, they're as dishonest as far away as Pluto is to the Earth. Very, very dishonest, very misleading on this particular issue for sure. So I'm going to ask the supervisors to provide as accurate as possible income statement for the golf course. I urge anyone who sees this video to contact them via email and ask them to do the same. We deserve it, and it's their responsibility to provide it to us. The last thing I'm going to talk about, I think, is the Promenade. What a mess. This is another case where they don't do their homework. As you know, on July 27th, they come up with this fantastic, wonderful idea that they're going to throw the tenants out before they even send them a notice. And they voted to send them a notice. Joe Staub made that motion. We give 30 days notice to the 4 remaining tenants in the Strip Center Mall. Second by Greg Gaultier. All 5 supervisors voted 5 yes, 0 no. Big problem with that. They didn't do their homework. They didn't do their research. They jumped to conclusions. They're in a hurry to kick them out of there so that they could tear that building down. According to Jeff Bartlett, our insurer, who's an expert in buildings and everything, said it would cost too much to fix the roof and the other repairs. Really? As compared to what? As to tearing it down and spending 20 or 30 million on building brand new? I don't think it would cost 20 million to fix it. We're getting led in the blind. We're being led by the mentally ill into these projects that are going to really hurt us in the end. So So on August 10th here at this meeting, they got a petition from a lot of people. Obviously, the pressure was put on them. And I put in a right to know request to see the leases. And I don't know if they found this out by pulling the leases for me or what, but they discovered that the leases have a 60-day notice clause in them. And they may be month to month, but you've got to give them a 60-day notice. So they really did not do their homework. They don't know what they're talking about. And remember back in July, Bartlett said, we're uninsurable. We have no insurance. They have to go. Now all of a sudden, on August 10th, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with our insurance. Relax, the umbrella covers the parking lot, and the tenants that are in the building have their own liability insurance, where I'm hoping that we are named a secondary. So their lease says they must have a 60-day notice. Well, you know, because the board screwed up so much, I guess they decided to give them an extra 30 days, and they passed a motion to give them 90 days until October 31st. Well, that's pretty much an indication of how poor of a job that our township manager and our supervisors are doing. They don't take the time to research it. We spend over $1 million in salaries for not our hourly, but our salaried people in that administration building, and they can't get the job done. You know, we are being taken to the cleaners by this organization that we have in there now, by the cleaners, and yet no one is stepping up and putting any pressure on this Board of Supervisors or this manager. For example, you'll hear them talk about the service electric contract that they have put off for it's been expired for 2 years. And they've developed new revenue streams because people are moving away from cable and going strictly to internet and other types of internet packages. Well, in our agreement, we get no money for that. So we're losing revenue because our supervisors failed to deliver a new agreement in a reasonable time period. I can cite you incompetent action after incompetent action after incompetent action with this board. And we still have 2 people on the board, Spies and Casadas, who are now the only 2 primarily responsible for this behavior. The new supervisors, they're green, they're very green. They'll tell you they have experience, but not in this area. The only one who does is Michelle. And what the boys club do is they suppress her comments. They ridicule her or attempt to ridicule her, and you'll see it, but don't be fooled. Michelle's a very intelligent woman. She's got a lot of experience, and she's been on the board before. And she's going to try to do her best. You can hear her as she keeps a level tone and tries to discuss the issues, but she's shouted down. We've got basically a ship with really no one at the helm. And it's starting to look very bad for our new manager, who's going along with what they want. He's 60 years old. He's just found a great place to retire on our dime. And so he's going to play along with these people. But don't you let them do that. Let's put the pressure on. Let's get some answers. Right to know request reports should be more meaningful. The information's there, they just aren't providing it. The golf course report, they're lying to us about the financial situation with that. Be honest with us. You might be surprised, maybe the public will support subsidizing the losses there. But they're not going to be happy about it if they find out how big of a loss it is and they find out that you've been misleading and lying to them. Honesty is the best policy. So I hope you like my opinion for today. Watch this video of the meeting very carefully. There's a lot of subtle things that are going on there that I hope you'll comment on. Remember, I put this on my ExeterUnited.com website. It will also take you to my YouTube channel. And in both situations, the agenda is listed there with the timestamps in the video, so you don't have to hunt and peck and find out where these things are going. I'll put the timestamp right next to the agenda item. Click on the time and it'll take you right to that agenda item that you're interested in listening to. So please sign up on my ExeterUnited.com site and sign up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you'll get a notice each time I publish a new video. And look for clips coming out of this video, this meeting, with additional opinions on what's going on with this, okay? I'll go into more detail. Thanks again, and please watch the video.
Okay, fingers crossed, this is new. Okay, looks like we're good to go.
Very good. I'd like to call to order the Monday, August 10th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting. Please rise for the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Staub?
Here.
Ms. Kircher?
Here.
Mr. Casadas?
Here.
And Mr. Galtier?
Here.
And Mr. Spees is here. Very good. We have two public hearings tonight, so I would like a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and open the public hearings.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Monday, August 10th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting. Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So I'd like to open the public hearing for the amendment to Chapter 390 of the zoning ordinance, revising telecommunications related uses in zoning districts. This amendment was advertised, was available for inspection for the required period of time. There were comments were invited, none were received. So I'd ask the board or the administration if anyone has comments.
There were no public comments submitted for this public hearing.
Thank you. The board or administration, any further comments on this one?
I have none.
No. Very good. So we'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing for the telecommunications zoning.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I'd like to open the second hearing, public hearing, for the amendment to Chapter 390 of the zoning ordinance, adopting a design manual for certain telecommunication facilities. This also was advertised, was available for inspection for the required period of time. I don't believe there were any public comments, Laurie?
That's correct.
So I'd ask the board or the administration if anyone has comments at this time.
I have none.
Very good. So take a motion to close the second public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
So, I will second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll reopen the regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors, August 10th, 2020. And we will continue with public comments.
Okay. The first public comment submitted on an agenda item is from John Carmello, and he is referencing the appointment of the Township Manager as Chief Administrative Officer.
Appointment of the Township Manager as the Chief Administrative Officer. RE Township Ordinance 61-6 Powers and Duties. Amended 4-26-1982 by Ord. Number 174. 5-12-1997 by Ord. Number 430. 7-25-2016 by Ord. Number 767. This reads as follows. The manager shall be the chief administrative officer of the township and shall be responsible to the board as a whole for the proper and efficient administration of the affairs of the township. A. 1. Since Township Ordinance 61-6 Powers and Duties already establishes the manager as the chief administrative officer, is not this appointment redundant? B. 2. Is there any additional financial compensation involved in this appointment?
Is that it?
That's the end of that.
Well, I'm sure the answer to part B, Jeff can verify, but the answer to part B is no, there's no additional compensation. But Jeff, I think you will cover this when we get to that agenda item.
Yes, yeah, I'll address it when we bring it up. I believe it's the last business item.
Okay. Very good. Okay, move on.
And the next comment is from David Hughes, and he's commenting on 3 separate agenda items. Would you like me to play them one by one or all together?
You can do one by one, and we'll see if anyone has comments or just continue. We'll just ask the board or administration.
All right. His first comment is on the monthly Right to Know report.
This report does not present accurately the activity regarding RTK requests. For example, only July requests are listed. I know that previous RTK requests are still open. Some are on appeal with the Office of Open Records. Some, at the end of August, will have some portion of 30 days waiting. It appears that the supervisors are providing a misleading picture of the status by excluding previous requests still pending.
Okay, comments, anyone? Or we can, I guess we'll discuss that during the Right to Know report. I think there were a couple open ones we were going to address.
I'd like to have that, if you can include it right in our packet. Because I tried to look for it tonight, and I couldn't find it, so.
It's on SharePoint, Michelle.
Which one? The Right to Know report?
Yes.
It's on SharePoint.
Yeah.
Use the tools we have.
Yeah, so, well, we'll address it when we get to the report to see if we want to modify it, because, earlier this year, we did modify the report. We took out some information, the dollar amounts and other things. So it is a report that can be modified, but I think we can discuss it when we get to the no report.
Excuse me, John, I'd like to make it part of the report.
Okay, I'm just saying to use the tools you have.
All right, so sidebar, can we discuss this during the Right to Know report?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Larry.
All right. Next comment is on, it's still from David Hughes, is on the monthly golf report.
monthly golf report. You will likely report to the public that the golf course operations are profitable at this meeting. This is far from the truth and extremely misleading. You will show us the revenue and expenses, but what is missing is the portion of bond principal and interest paid. Some of the principal and interest must be allocated to the golf course operations. In addition, equipment old and recently purchased must be depreciated, and these depreciation charges are not included in your presentation. A full and complete income statement should be presented to the public in order to obtain a true picture of the golf course financial results. If the true results were presented, I believe the results would be a significant loss.
Okay. Any immediate comments, or we can discuss that during that item as well? Okay, go ahead, Laura.
Okay, and his final comment on the agenda is item number 6 under new business, consider approving renewal of lease agreement with William Scotsman.
This item should go out for bid. It is a 3-year contract for $1,317 per month for 36 months. A total contract price of over $47,412. This does not include applicable taxes. Under current conditions, we may be able to obtain a better deal. Will we need this for next 3 years?
Okay. Any comments on that one before we cover that on that agenda item?
No, but
I think that will be the discussion. Okay, Laurie?
Okay, that was the final comment, and just, Dave, the individual from Representative Houlihan's office is not on yet, so I'll just let you know when they join.
Okay. Just to make a comment on that there will be maybe Laurie, you can go ahead and mention it, someone who will be joining us.
Sure, yes. Curtis Miller from Representative Chrissy Houlihan's office asked for a few minutes tonight just to update the Exeter residents on constituent services that are available to them, and just to give a brief overview of what's going on in Washington. So as soon as they join, I will let you know, and he can give his brief update.
Okay, very good. Regular approvals, minutes of the July 27th, 2020 meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for July 27th, 2020.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Yeah, they were very, very well written, Laurie. So,
Thank you.
disbursements for August 10th, 2020.
Move that we approve the disbursements as listed, August 10th, 2020.
Oh, second. Was that John? John got it, I think.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Joe, I think you had one item, or?
Just one.
Joe, you had questions. There was a school tax bill for the Promenade on the disbursements this week. It's the amount of $41,880.34. That is a taxable property that the township has to pay county, school, and township taxes on. We already paid the county tax during the county discount period. We are now paying the school taxes on the property in the discount period, and we will be paying the township tax, in essence paying ourselves, unfortunately, in the flat period, that amount. The property is assessed at $1,271,000 currently. We did, before acquisition of the property, appeal the assessed value, and we're able to get that decreased from $4 million, or $4 million, down to that $1,271,000.
Thank you, Jen.
Very good, thanks, Jen. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Unfinished business. Monthly right to know report.
Hey, Dave, if I could just,
Sure.
it looks like Curtis has just joined us, so I don't know if you want to,
Sure.
we'd like to have him give his update. Curtis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, thank you all. Sorry. Thank you very much for having me. Is now a good time, or do you need me to wait? Can I go into my spiel?
I think you're good to go, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let me just see if I can pull up. Anyway, okay, the document's not loading. But anyway, my name is Curtis Miller, and I am from Representative Christy Houlihan's office. I'm in her Westchester office. I'm a constituent advocate. And so we're just going around to all of the municipalities in her district to introduce ourselves, if we haven't already, to share a little bit of an update on what she's doing, and as well as promote our constituent services. So she, being a freshman representative, has not had an opportunity to, we haven't had the greatest opportunity to go around to this also newly drawn district just yet. So we're doing that now. This is our second round of attending municipal meetings. So I believe someone was able to participate last year in person, I would presume, but I'm really grateful to be here on video. So she's on the Armed Services, the Foreign Affairs, and the Small Business Committees. And on those, she obviously on the Armed Services Committee has jurisdiction over the National Defense Authorization Act. And then on the Small Business Committee, she's had a lot of opportunity to work on small business aid for businesses during this time of crisis and pandemic. And recently she has introduced a bill that would allow for expedited forgiveness of PPP loans that are less than $150,000 for our smallest businesses. To date, she's very metrics driven, and so she likes to understand kind of how she's stacking up, and she likes to, as she was a small business owner herself, understand how she's kind of operating as a business, looking at tax dollars as her customer base. And through her advocacy and through our district staff advocacy, we've returned almost $3.5 million to the district through casework. And that's for anyone who has an issue with their VA benefits or Medicare or Social Security check, or even with passport issues, which typically doesn't return money, but we're able to advocate for pretty much anyone that has an issue with a federal agency. So that's one of the reasons that we're going around to the municipal meetings, is to promote that. If there's anyone here tonight or anyone who resides in Exeter Township that has an issue with a federal agency, we would be more than willing to assist them. We've closed several hundred cases through that advocacy, and we've held about 21 town halls, I believe. My computer won't open our data documents, so I'm going off the top of my head right now, but it's over 20 town halls. A number of them have been virtual or telephone, understandably in the time of COVID. We like to have them around a specific issue, so we've had several small business town halls and several health and coronavirus related town halls to better understand everything that's happening right now. So we've met with local health agency contacts as well as small business administration contacts for these relevant town halls. And she's held a number of roundtables with different constituencies to understand how the pandemic is affecting specific groups. So for instance, I handle agriculture for her, and she and I met with a number of dairy farmers and a number of specialty crop farmers on 2 separate calls to hear both how they were being affected by the pandemic, what they needed from the federal government, and at that time the USDA was preparing their coronavirus food assistance program, and we were able to talk with them about how that program was being administered. So that's kind of a lot of what she's done in the district. Again, really trying to promote constituent services. So if anyone has an issue with the VA or Medicare or any other federal agency, we would love to help you. I'll end really quickly with just talking about some of the legislation that she's pushed for recently. So she did vote for the CARES Act, which was kind of the most recent large stimulus package, which was involving the $1,200 rebates to taxpayers, the unemployment compensation, and a lot of other aid. She's voted on quite a number of other bills that were focused on addressing the pandemic itself, so healthcare and our frontline workers. She's on legislation that would forgive student loans for our healthcare and frontline workers. And she also introduced a bipartisan bill that would establish a public health corps to address this and future pandemics. And lastly, she voted for the HEROES Act, which, among many other economic issues, including another round of rebate checks, continuing to extend that unemployment, would also have sent more money directly to states and local governments that need them. So that's all. I hope I'm not missing anything, as, again, I wish that I could have pulled up that document, but my computer won't load it right now. I apologize. So I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
I have none.
Wonderful. Well, I believe that our staff assistant, Kira Florsheim, sent some palm cards, which has just our contact information and a very brief summary of everything that I've gone over to the township government building. So those should be available to distribute if anyone is there physically. But it's also a good resource just to have. All of that information is on her website, which is Houlihan, HOULAHAN.house.gov, if you or any residents of Exeter would like to contact us. But thank you so much for having me, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Curtis.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, we will resume with unfinished business, the monthly right to know report. This report is posted on the website for public review and also on the Board of Supervisors internal site. They vary slightly, where I think names and cost of each service, the Board of Supervisors keeps track of that. That was decided to be removed from the public version of that. I'll let Jeff, do you want to make any comments?
Yeah, I would. This listing here, this is basically showing the new right to know requests that were made during the month of July. There were 42 total. Of that 42, 12 of them are cases where there was an extension because of the large volume of the information that was being requested. As far as the public comment that was made, it's not really, that's not what the board had asked for. The board had asked for each month the new cases that are put on. So there are some outstanding that are still from, let's say, May or June, that are being contested or somewhere along the way with the Office of Open Records, but that's not what the board had wanted. The board just wanted to show the new requests that we received in the month they were received and report it at the next meeting after that. If the board wants to change that and keep a running list of all cases, where we would put the new cases in the beginning, or let's say the old cases at the beginning of the list that have not been finalized, and then list the new ones. This document is going to start growing. There may be some cases that are end up to the Office of Open Records that have not been resolved, and that may take months. So this document could get potentially very large, but if the board wants to change the format, that's something we could easily do.
Yeah, the intent was to show, as you said, Jeff, the monthly snapshot of the right to knows. It was never designed to be a massive thing that you're looking at things that are not closed out or closed out. For what it serves for my feelings and the name on it, I like looking at it every month just to see. And in this case, you see a lot of the frivolousness of the same people asking for kind of the same thing in a roundabout way. So I think the report's great.
John, one follow-up, Jeff, maybe for you to clarify that last meeting there was a specific one that was brought up in regard to the noise ordinance. Maybe you can update the team on the one. I believe it was from John Knoll.
Yes, I believe that one was forwarded on to our attorney at the time. There was some question about the ordinance, and for some reason they had not responded back to the township. They had the information, they had a response, but it got missed somewhere along the way. So that information was taken care of regarding the noise ordinance. It was just one that was missed because it was a fairly large request. It was forwarded on to the attorney because there was some legal question tied with it.
And maybe one more comment. I mean, I guess you probably have a list, the administration probably has a list of obviously, the right to know officer of what is still pending, what is open.
That we do.
Whether or not we want to review that, that's up for discussion. I think Michelle probably has comments, but that's probably up for discussion as well. But I mean, that list, like maybe quarter or something could be reviewed, because some of them will be open for a very long time, as you say. But the rest of the board comments, Michelle, you had some comments?
Michelle, you just need to unmute yourself. We were getting some feedback from your computer.
I keep unmuting and it keeps coming back.
Sorry, I did that because you got a lot of feedback from your
I'm sorry. I think I have a right as a supervisor. If there's something that I'm interested in, I want to keep track of and see what the community is really interested in. That if you have it on the community computer anyway, that it's no different to print it out every week when I get my agenda. If the others don't, they're probably looking at stuff that I have no interest in. So there's no problem if the facts are already there to print it out and give it to me. Otherwise, I just like to keep it in order the way I keep my papers, and I'm entitled to do that the way I wish and to look at the information that I wish to.
Well, buy a printer and do it yourself.
Excuse me, John.
Michelle,
I'm being serious.
so far, I mean, John, you made comments. Michelle made comments. Joe or Greg? Any comments?
Yeah, well, first off, if I would say this, if Michelle's preference is paper, I think it's reasonable to give her paper. As far as, Jeff, you had brought up 12 out of 42. Did I hear that number correctly?
Yeah, there's 12 out of 42 that have a time extension, a 30-day extension on there, and the final response is to be determined. Because of the type of question that they asked, or the volume of the materials that they're requesting, we would not be able to fill it in 5 days. So what we have done is we've given a 30-day extension, requested that extension, and now we're working on getting those. So of the 42 that were received in July, 12 of them went to the 30-day extension, just simply because of the size of the documents that they requested.
The only reason I was asking is I must have miscounted. Maybe I missed a page or something, because I had 15 out of 21 were filled in 5 days. So maybe I miscounted. I'm sorry.
I think you're correct, Greg. I mean, certainly there was not 42 on this month's report.
Yeah, but in any case, I wanted to check that first in case I did make a mistake, because the one comment I would have is, again, I want to thank the administration for filling so many of these quickly. That wasn't the case last year at this time. So I do appreciate, I know there's going to take longer time. That's certainly understandable, but it used to be the practice that they all took 30 days. Now only substantial ones are taking 30 days. So I just want to thank you for that.
And we're trying to move these out. Like I said, some of them are very detailed. The documentation that is being requested has to get pulled from various sources. So some of them they do take a long time. And there are some repeat ones where it's the information was provided to one person, and then we get a request virtually identical to that request from a different person. So we have to sometimes go back through the process to make sure that the information is the same going out to every person. So we're going to continue working on trying to shorten that time span up as much as possible.
Well, thank you for your work.
Thanks, Greg. Joe, any comments?
No, I mean, I think it's a very extensive report. So again, thank you for administration putting it together. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to know exactly what is still hanging out there. And if you wanted to create something else, and if it's easily accessible through the computer, just to print out and say, okay, these are the ones that are still open. It does give us an idea as far as what is hanging out there. And again, you hope that it's not a lot. I know that I believe the state did they did make it easier for us to give us additional time, correct, Jeff? To fill these?
Yes.
Because of COVID, and I know that we still have been able to get most of them taken care of. But again, too, I don't know if it would be if it's not too much of a big deal, but just to see what is still outstanding. But,
We can do that. We'll pull together a separate spreadsheet of all the ones that are outstanding, probably going back to maybe, I would assume maybe March or April would be the oldest that had not been fulfilled yet for some reason or another. But we'll go through this list going backwards and just create a separate spreadsheet to submit to the board for their information.
yeah, we can see what it looks like, and if it does have value, I'm not adverse to seeing what exactly is hanging out there.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be much work, I guess. I mean, it should be available, but yeah, if it's a quarterly review or whatever it is, available upon request, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I would just keep it a separate sheet as.
No, agree.
I have a question for our attorney, Beth. Is there any way, because a lot of these, it's the same person asking for the same information, a lot of it's very frivolous. Is there any case study that we could start to charge the residents for these? Because a lot of it is a waste of time, and, I won't name names, but is there any case study that we could push back and
Right now,
if we see somebody that's abusing the system?
I understand the question. Right now, there's not a good tool to stop those requests. I mean, if they are duplicative, if it really is the exact same request for the same information, you could, potentially deny it on the basis that it's already been answered. But if it's, a subsequent month for the same information, from a different period of time, I don't know the nature of what your issues are, but by and large, the only costs you can pass along are your copying costs if you're providing hard copies or need to scan.
Okay, and then my point to Michelle was that you can buy a printer and print from SharePoint on your own. I print my own things at home here. I just don't think the administration should be printing documents for you.
John.
That's all.
Thank you, John.
Just want to make that clear.
Done.
I'll buy the printer.
John, excuse me, I have the right to ask for.
Okay,
Let's not go back.
we're good, Dave.
And I'm not asking for a complete, every piece that's there, I'm just asking for. It's a good way to know your community. I don't want this stuff right where they want all the houses for the assessments and all the other stuff. I'd like to know what our community is thinking about.
That's it.
Yeah, I think
I'll tell you how to conduct your business as far as how you want to read stuff or whatever. So stay out of mine.
Okay, printers are cheap. Printers are cheap.
Let's just move on. But I think it's a good discussion. I think it's a good idea every once in a while to review the open request just so something doesn't fall off the table. It's good practice. So I think we'll try that and see how it goes. Everyone good with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Monthly golf report. Jeff or Joe, I don't know if you want to comment on that. I know we had a public comment on this, and we've gone back and forth, many times of how we frame this report, what we're reporting, how our parks and everything in the township is handled, and capital investment and everything else. But
yeah, the only thing I would say, Dave, is regarding the entire budgeting process as we get into next year with a new board in place, that we can take a look at the policies and procedures of how that is done. I mean, I prefer, just on the overall budget, to have less verbiage and not goals and everything. It's just more of, hey, here's revenue, here's expenses. Is it, do we have a surplus or a deficit? And let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
As far as the golf report, I can also go, and again, this is when I was on the other side of the table, I saw what I would consider many charges that shouldn't have been on the golf report. So what I would like to do is to take the overall year at that point in time and then make any necessary changes, depreciations, a non-cash expense. But as far as the bond, to sit down with Jen and see exactly what is coming in, what is being paid on the debt service, take a look at that, what is coming out of that, and then to revisit that in 2021 and to set it up the way we wanted to have it at that point in time. That's mine. As far as the numbers, All I know is that based on the report that I see, the revenues are slightly above expenses based on the course being closed for 6 or 7 weeks and then being shut down to a lesser extent just because of expanded tea times. That Derek and Brian have done a yeoman's job. That's the only thing I'll say about that.
Can I piggyback on something Joe said?
Sure, go ahead, Greg.
You know, when I was looking at this, and is Jen Savage on tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw golf food sales, $33,917. And then snack bar food expense, $10,843. I didn't, and I'm not sure if I'm missing it, I didn't see the personnel costs for the snack bar.
They're in the pro shop. We don't have a specific wage line for them. Pro shop people and snack bar people are all the same.
Okay.
And see, to me, I think we need to find a way to separate things like that out, because I'm not sure how you can evaluate how well the snack bar is doing if you don't have all the numbers.
And Greg, I do agree with you, but to Joe's point, I would just say too that, I mean, that's certainly a good one when we get to the budgeting, putting in a line item there and budgeting that way so we can track that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was right. Those are the type of things I think we need to be able to look at so that you can evaluate how the snack bar is doing, how the pro shop sales are doing, and then how the golf is doing, and then hopefully at some point how the restaurant is doing.
Yeah.
Because again, we want to have a true and accurate assessment of every department within the township as far as where we're at from a profit and loss standpoint. And the Reading Country Club is no different. Again, I'm not a member. So,
Yeah.
The only feedback I have, I agree with you, Joe, is the making sure we have the equipment captured. For example, the $36,000 tractor that we have in the equipment fund is a golf piece of equipment, so we just need to make sure that when we're comparing it, that it's in that fund. That's all.
The depreciation goes there, yes.
You can't do that. You can't charge it out of one fund and put the depreciated in another fund. That's
right.
Then we should make sure for the budgeting next year that we just have the right equipment in the right bucket, I guess.
And how are we what are we gonna do with the bond? How are we gonna split that up? Because
bond gets paid out of the debt service fund where the tax goes. Like, we can't start changing accounting principles here, unfortunately, just to show things on the books the right way. We can do separate reporting, but things need to get charged where things need to get charged based upon fund accounting.
okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. And a couple comments for the rest of them. I had asked Jen these comments earlier, or these questions, maybe Larry as well. When you look at expenses of this month golf report, this happens, I guess, twice a year. You know, there were the wages looked very high for the month of July. That's because there were 3 pay periods instead of 2. So then your wages are 50% higher for that month. That normalizes out over the year. But if you're looking at just the month results, that one, and there was a large charge, I think, Larry, for an engine rebuild that was on the disbursements last month and shows up in our last meeting. So that shows up there, and our yearly software license. So yeah, all that stuff adds up to about, $30,000 of just abnormal expenses for the month. So, but yeah, just wanted to make those comments. Anything else on the golf report?
I think Joe has a good point. We definitely have room for improvement for 2021.
Yeah, the right line items and getting the budget correct.
Yep.
Be a good discussion. Thanks. Let's move on. Discussion on community park. Jeff or Clarence?
Since we didn't have that meeting earlier, I didn't know if you guys want to follow through with this or not. Maybe you want to table this? So.
Clarence, I think we should, just to give everyone a background, we sent out an invitation to Borough of St. Lawrence and the school district and ourselves for all of us to get together to discuss it. St. Lawrence wasn't available today. They're discussing it in their meeting, I believe. Laurie, is it the 13th?
Yes, that's correct.
At that point in time, we'll have a better understanding. They're going to report back, I think, to Dave Hemberger on the school board. He's the school board chair. So I believe at the next meeting, we'll be in a position to see whether or not St. Lawrence has any interest in the current facilities with what is there. And we'll have we'll just have a better understanding of what their take is. And then at that point in time, Clarence, I think we'd be in a position to make our decision. Now, in the meantime, did you say there was additional vandalism?
Yeah, they broke into the same shed again. We don't think anything was taken. There really wasn't anything but a lot of junk in there anyway. We had taken most of anything that was good out of there. So now we've totally emptied that shed. We're just gonna weld the door shut, because we're just gonna put a small weld tab on it until we need to, whatever.
Well, again, we should be in a position, I think, we'll know all three parties at that point in time what their interests are,
Right.
and be able to give you a clearer direction. It's coming from me, but everybody else.
Yeah, we canceled our meeting today, Joe and I, that we had with the school district of St. Lawrence, didn't answer, so more to come on that. I would table it, Dave. There's not much to discuss.
Yep, very good. Move on. New business. Consider item number 1 under new business. Consider adopting amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 257, entitled Noise. Jeff or Chief, or I think we discussed this last time. I mean, I think Tom went through basically reviewing everything, and I think Chief and Tom were discussing that, think this is about, we put something pretty good together that we think we can enforce. Comments?
I would like.
I believe it's enforceable with the way that it's currently written. I know there was some concerns about what if our officers cite under this new ordinance, and I know conflict counsel has agreed, at least if it's regarding an issue that we're currently having or continue to have with involving ATVs, that he would be able to represent the township at the magisterial district level, and need be at the county level if there's any problem with enforcement. But we believe that we can currently enforce the new ordinance with the way that it's written.
You're good. Michelle, you had a comment?
Well, I would just feel better if our new council would look it over before we make any decisions. Their opinion on it.
Beth, I mean, you're new coming into this. I mean,
The new council.
Yes, that is Beth.
That's out.
Now, Michelle, new solicitor?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's up to the board. If the board wants our office to take a look at it and give our opinion on it, we're glad to do that. Attorney Estes good at what he does as well, so I'm not going to try to step on his toes. I'm sure this has gone through a process, but if the board wants us to take a look at it and at least give an opinion, we would do that. So.
It's going to cost money, so.
No, sorry to cut you off, Beth. John, you had a comment?
I was just saying that it's going to cost the township more money, so I'm ready to make a motion to approve it.
Greg or Joe?
I'll second John's motion.
Oh, did you make a motion, John?
Yes, make a motion to approve the amendment to the Code Ordinances, Chapter 257, entitled Noise.
Okay.
My position on this is we have professionals and they're making the recommendation, and I don't have reason to disagree with their recommendation. I think they know more about this than me. Particularly, I had the opportunity to talk with the attorney and ask him more questions, and so I was pretty satisfied.
Thanks, Greg. Anything further from anyone before we take a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Ayes have it. 4-1. Item number 2 under new business, consider adopting amendment to chapter 390 of the zoning ordinance, revising telecommunications related uses in the zoning districts.
I'll make a motion to adopt Amendment 3 to Chapter 390 of the zoning ordinance, revising telecommunications related uses in the zoning districts.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Will, do you have any further comments or anything?
Not really. This language will be amending the current zoning language to place the telecommunication in the appropriate zoning districts.
Thanks, Will. Any further comments from anybody? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3 under new business, consider adopting amendment to chapter 390 of the zoning ordinance and adopting a design manual for certain telecommunication facilities.
I'll make a motion to adopt amendment to Chapter 390 of the zoning ordinance, adopting a design manual for certain telecommunication facilities.
I'll second that as well.
Any further comments? All those in favor? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that just provides aesthetic standards for future zoning applications.
Yeah. Thanks, Will. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 4, approve advertisement seeking bid proposals for the Butter Lane Culvert project. Joe, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The Butter Lane Culvert project has been ongoing. This is a project that's located at the intersection of Prospect Street and Butter Lane. The culvert is deteriorating. It consists of 3 pipes. They're in poor shape. We've been coordinating with the appropriate utility companies. As you recall, we also entered into an agreement with Mount Penn Borough Water Authority for lowering their water line. Recently, we just acquired the necessary easements for the project to allow us to facilitate the construction. So we're in a position right now where we have everything done, the design done, and I'm seeking this evening authorization from the Board of Supervisors to advertise the project to open bids, and we're looking at a bid opening probably early September with a pre-bid conference during the bidding process.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions from the board?
No.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this one before, so Joe, you need a motion to approve the advertisement?
Yes, please.
I move that we advertise seeking bid proposals for the Butter Lane Culvert project.
Second it.
Thanks, Michelle. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Item number 5. Thanks, Joe. Item number 5, appointment of township manager as chief administration officer. Jeff, maybe you can explain this one. I think it's a formality, but
Yeah, this was done as standard practice every year. This year, without a permanent manager in place at the reorganization meeting, the board at the time chose to not make the appointment. Now that I'm here as in the manager position, we're looking to just kind of do a little bit of house cleaning and appoint me to that position. As stated earlier, there is no additional compensation or anything for it. It is a duty that is assigned to the township manager. We can look at it again further and look back at the old ordinance. It may not be something that has to be formally appointed each year. As long as I'm in the position as the township manager, I would be doing that role as well. But at this point, to be consistent with what had been done in the past, it makes sense to just appoint me to that position, and we'll revisit it, getting ready for next year's reorganization meeting.
thanks, Jeff. Good explanation.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jeff Bartlett as the chief administrative officer.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Can you amend the motion? We're actually trying to appoint a position, not a person. That way, if Jeff's no longer here, we don't need to do this again. This was a recommendation by our pension auditor.
Okay.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to appoint the township manager as the chief administrative officer.
I'll amend the second to match what Greg said.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 6 under new business, consider approving the renewal of lease agreement with Williams Scotsman Incorporated. This is for the modular trailer for needed space for the police department. Jeff or Chief?
Yeah, this lease that we had, this is for the modular unit that the police department extends out the building. And by keeping this lease going, we are obviously looking at what we're going to be doing with the township building going forward. Regardless of where we end up or what we end up doing, we need this unit where it is right now. The idea of rebidding this item to see if we can get a better price most likely would be detrimental to the department. We would have to bid it out to various companies, hoping that we're going to get a new, better price. They would then have to remove everything from the unit. The unit have to be dismantled and taken away. It comes in multiple pieces. A new one would have to be brought back in. In the meantime, the police department would be without half of their space, or more than half of their space that they function and operate in. I think in going forward with the concept of a revamped municipal complex or a new complex, it makes sense to lock into this lease agreement for this time period. Even in the best of scenarios with design and approvals and permitting and building, we're still looking at a minimum of 2.5 to 3 years till we might be able to be in a new facility. So at this point, I think it would make sense to extend the existing lease and keep the police station intact at this point.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions?
I guess the only question I would have is, would they consider a shorter period? And I know what you're saying, Jeff, and I do agree with being in that facility with the moving, the tear down, the build up, the cost would be excessive. It's just think about moving your house. The cost associated that would be pretty steep. Are there options to do a 2-year in case we do get moving on this quicker, or month to month at the same cost? Just asking.
I can, if the board authorizes approval, I can go back to them if you authorize a minimum 2-year agreement, and then I can discuss the possibility of month to month after that point to see if they'll agree to something like that, knowing that we're going to be in this situation. I don't know if this company actually knew the situation that we're looking at. This was not the original company. I believe this company was bought out by the units that we have there were bought out by this other company. So I think they just think we're just going to keep the units forever and that this is going to be the permanent police department. So I can go back to them if the board at least authorizes it to be a minimum of 2 years with the possibility of 3 if we can negotiate month to month going forward for the last year of that lease.
If I may add,
At least this way we can have it in place because the lease is expiring.
Yeah, no, I understand.
can I add something in real quick? So the price that is quoted there is also the same for a 2-year option as well. So I'm going to put that out there. It's also that same price is also for a 2-year lease as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that, again, too, if we do move along, and let's just say we stay at the same facility wherever we go, instead of having a commitment for a 3-year, I would much rather have a 2, especially too, as the chief said, if the cost is the same, I don't think it puts us in any negative position because we can certainly renegotiate or renew at the end of the 2 years.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
If the board then wants to authorize a 2-year lease instead of the 3, we'll go back to them, get the paperwork drafted back up, and move it ahead at a 2-year lease.
What would they charge to buy them instead of leasing them if we, need it for whatever amount of time? I mean, they could always be used as a command center someplace, or, at one of the parks, or for a lot of opportunities that the township could use them for. Even just store stuff in. I'm just thinking about, how things turn out when you think it's going to be 1 year and it ends up being 5, or vice versa. I'm just wondering what's going to be the benefit.
I know at one time we had explored that option with the old company, and it was in the neighborhood of approximately $80,000 if we were to purchase the unit.
One unit or all of them?
I'm sorry, both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah, there's better things you could buy for storage too. You wouldn't want to use that as storage.
No, but it'd be nice if you have somebody has an event from one of the departments, whatever. You would have something to take.
Yeah, it could be like a command center or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not mobile though.
Yeah.
No, it's not easily mobile.
So you're looking at 13, 15,000. So you're talking about 5 years of lease to break even for the cost of purchase.
Well, that's just the purchase. That's not installation. That's not getting.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have bathrooms.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Did we make a motion on the 3-year already, or did
We did make a motion on the 3-year. We can make a motion on the 2-year if you would like.
I'll make a motion to go with the 2-year, approving the renewal of the lease agreement with William Scotsman Incorporated for the police station.
I'll second it.
Any further comments?
I'd rather wait till we see what the price is before we motion anything.
I think Chief said it was the same price, correct?
You have
Yes.
first, you have a first and a second, so further discussion. And this lease is running out, Jeff, so this is time sensitive?
Yes, the lease expires August 15th.
Why is everything time sensitive?
Michelle, it is the same price for a 2-year versus a 3-year. That's
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
mentioned.
So there was a first
It
and
was
a
the same
second.
price.
My comment personally is, I would certainly hope 5 years from now, we're still not working out of that trailer. So, 5 years is break even, so yeah, I'm in favor of going forward, but we had John, you made a motion.
I made the motion for 2 years there, too.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Opposed? 4-1. Ayes have it. Very good. Department reports. Joe?
Just 2 brief items for updates. One on the Hilldale Storm Sewer Project. That's proceeding. We have the preliminary design completed. However, we are encountering a multiple number of utility conflicts. We did redesign our project to avoid as many as possible. However, we did schedule a utility coordination meeting, which I believe is going to take place next week. Hopefully we can get some of these resolved so that we would be in a position to seek approval from the board to advertise. So that project's proceeding along. Unfortunately, we probably have about 6 utilities that are in our street that are in direct conflict with the storm sewer. So we're hoping to get some of those resolved by having this meeting. And lastly, last item, just an update. Back in July the 13th, the Board of Supervisors meeting, I briefed the Board of Supervisors on several streets that we've owned and maintained for all these years, but we'll need to either reaffirm or reordain or adopt these streets to alleviate taxes that are being paid by certain Exeter associates and a few other entities. Just want to let the board know that I've been working with the staff and will be coordinating with our township solicitor on this matter, but just wanted to provide everybody an update. that project is proceeding, and we've been getting phone calls from Exeter Associates, so I'm informing them of the status. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Elizabeth or Liz, I see you've joined. Is Liz okay?
Yes, thank you. I just arrived from my hearing. I want to thank you again for the appointment for our firm to serve as solicitor for the township. We're very proud to serve Exeter Township, and I wanted to thank you again for that appointment. And yes, I'm here. I apologize for being a little bit late, but I had a hearing that was previously scheduled that I could not reschedule. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Beth, do you have any comments overall so far?
Nope, nothing further. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Chief?
I don't have much. I'm sure a lot of you are aware that we had a protest yesterday in the township, a Black Lives Matter group, which was formed mostly of high school students, approximately 90 or so individuals, some students, some parents, some administrative staff there from the school. We escorted that group from the school down to the township building. They were met with about 20 or so counter protesters. Everything went smoothly. I know the young lady that was in charge of the group put it out there that this wasn't a protest against the Exeter Township Police Department, but more so one against issues that are occurring nationally. I'd like to thank the fire police that were out there, EMS that we had on standby, the fire department, the supervisors that showed up to lend their support, and Larry who helped us tremendously. The officers did a great job. I couldn't be more proud of them, and it was a safe event for everybody.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Clarence?
Yes, as everybody knows, we had that rain event last week, caused quite a lot of mess. We had something like 16 or 18 trees down during the storm. 2 were on cars, a lot of wires were down again. Everything is fairly cleaned up now. We still have some trees that are on some of the property. We have a lot of properties that are just junk properties behind houses that, and now we're getting, these trees are falling down onto their properties. So we still have, I think, 3 or 4 trees there to clean up. So, but other than that, it really took a beating down at Trout Run, took out, on both sides of that road, a lot of stone. We put 40, instead of putting modified back in, I put base material back in. It took 40 ton of base material to fill those sides in. It really, that water was something else down there. It was over 6 feet deep going through that tunnel. So that's as high as I've seen that. I don't remember ever seeing that before. So that was quite a storm. Other than that, we're moving on. We're continuing to work on some parks, doing some updates and stuff. Right now we're working at Mountain Park. One other thing I would like to find out what your opinion is. The white phone tower out here is, Windstream was using it, and they are no longer using it. They're no longer paying rent. It sustained a huge piece of it was blown out when we had that heavy windstorm what was that, about a month ago? April, yeah. Good Friday. And I shut the electric off to them since they're not paying rent. However, I think we need to get them to get this thing off our property, whoever owns it. It's just a liability for us right now. Obviously, nobody's going to use it the way it is. So I just, what are your thoughts on this? If you just want me to see about getting this thing out of here, or
Well, Clarence, I would certainly let other people comment, but I would say whoever owns it, if it's not being utilized and it's damaged, I think we should go after
It was,
try to get them to remove it.
it was always it's a portable unit. It was never considered a permanent unit. This is the same thing they take to a NASCAR race and set up, 3, 4 of them. Super Bowl, they set up probably 10 of these things. Wherever there's going to be a heavy phone usage, this is not a permanent pole. And since if it fell, and there's no reason it should, but if it fell, it could hit it will hit the street. It'll reach the Gibraltar Road. So there's just no reason for us to keep it here anymore. If nobody's going to pay rent on it, it was never made a permanent pole. So
I think we should get it out of there. Whoever owns it, have them remove it.
Yep. All right.
Yep.
Very good. Okay.
Does anyone piggyback off it, Clarence, like for 5G? Like, could we, is it, or no?
That I don't know.
Would anybody be interested in maybe like Verizon or AT&T?
Well, I think if they were interested, they'd already have contacted us. I mean, and like I said, there's a huge chunk of it taking out of the pole itself. It's about 5 feet long, about a foot and a half wide out of the one side. So I'm not sure.
The pieces laying across the street.
Yeah. So I don't think anybody's going to want to use it.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else, Clarence?
That's all I got.
Clarence, any update? I mean, is MedEd finished with their rundown? Have they hooked up? I mean, we've had a lot of power outages for the.
No, they're not finished.
Okay.
No, and today actually, it wasn't in Exeter, it was in St. Lawrence, but because of some of these lines are so low, a tractor trailer tore a huge phone line out down by 562 and Bingham. So. Yeah, there's still a lot of issues. And this company that was putting up the Gibraltar lines,
yeah,
I would imagine they got pulled off to go somewhere where the big heavy storm damage was.
Yeah, they just stopped.
And from what I understand, just right down the line here in down around Pikeville and stuff, there's still some outages. So they're not finished. They have a lot of stuff. There's some damaged poles that we have here yet. So when they're coming back, I don't know, but.
Thanks, Clarence.
For them.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah.
Thanks, Clarence. Jeff?
Yes, I have a couple items this evening. I just wanted to clarify something regarding the Promenade Center. When we discussed this at the last meeting, the discussion amounted to the issue of not having insurance. And I want to clarify for everyone that the property itself is covered under our general liability insurance. The umbrella policy covers the entire property. What was not insured were the actual buildings for loss or damage. So I wanted to make that differentiation there, that anything that's going on in the parking lot, if somebody goes there and it drives through it, we do have general liability insurance covering that. This morning, we received a number of petition pages that were submitted from residents. They were submitted to the Board of Supervisors for your consideration, but we didn't have time to get them here and get them all out to the board members. Basically, the petition was asking that the board reconsider the 30-day eviction that is occurring and extend that to, some of the petitions said 90 days, some of them listed 180 days. Just to clarify, first of all, their lease that they have is a 60-day notification. So from the time when we made our notification, they're on a month-to-month lease. That's the 30 days. Their actual lease agreement says that they have 60 days to vacate the premise. So I want to make that correction. Obviously, the property owners or property renters were not letting people know that. They were saying we have to be out in 30 days, which is not correct. Their own lease says 60. At this point, in order to work with these folks, I don't believe a 90-day period would be unreasonable. We do have the liability insurance. We were able to reinsure the buildings, the Monroe building and the dry cleaner building. As long as the property, the tenants understand that this doesn't mean that they should be operating their full business up until the 89th day. And then on day 90, say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And be scrambling to move their equipment out or whatever. This was, again, no surprise to them. They were on month-to-month leases for over 5 years. And, at this point, if they were able to stay in there an extra 30 days, that would extend it to the end of October. October 31st would be their final day in the building. I don't believe that would cause undue harm. We are working on our bid specs to move ahead with possible demolition, but we haven't, those bids haven't been put out or anything yet, so we have enough time that they would be able to stay there. Also, I know that several of the tenants have been in contact with other facilities in the area. Several of the folks that had empty spaces in the township and just outside the township have been in contact with them to see if they can work out an arrangement where they can move their facility in there. So we are working on trying to assist them. So it would be my recommendation, if the board is inclined, to extend the period of move out to a total of 90 days, which would extend it to October 31st.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we extend it to 90 days.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that topic?
I just have a question.
All right, who is that, Joe or Greg?
Greg.
Joe can go first.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, again, as I said last week or 2 weeks ago, just want to make sure that we're covered. Hopefully all the businesses do have business owner policies to cover their contents. Just need to make sure, especially too with the condition of disrepair, that we don't get into the real cold months. I would just be concerned from their business as well, that if pipes crack or something like that, the 90 days would certainly, I would hope, would give the tenants ample time to be able to make the necessary move. But again, as being on month to month for that period of time, I know once they make the move, they'll probably feel a little bit better being under solid ground with a lease for a certain period of time.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm along the same lines as Joe. I just want to make sure I understand what liability we have by doing this. We don't, like, if there was an injury or something like that, we're not liable. We have insurance, correct?
Yes, the whole parking area, the drive areas, the whole 22-acre property is under our liability policy. What goes on inside their stores is under their renter's insurance, not on the township side.
Okay, but so it is covered then. We require they have that insurance.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, my concern is, we know what some of the other buildings in that structure looks like. The roof is, as Clarence, as we've seen, is probably not going to make the winter, and that would be major.
Yeah, it'd be bad to have that. It'd be good to get this water shut off before freezing.
Yeah. Very good. So Greg made the motion. John seconded it. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Jeff?
Next item, KCBA architect firm. The staff has started working with them. We had a Zoom conference last week to talk with their representatives of just general information about the current building and the departments we have here. They just reached out today with a series of surveys that are geared towards each department. There's a number of questions that are very specific to, like, the police department and public works department. They want us to gather that information. Once we forward it on to them, then they will be coming in. They're going to set up a site visit and work with each department and walk through it. Later this week, they will be reaching out to the fire department and the EMS squad. They're a separate entity in and of themselves, so they will be contacting them. And once we get all that together, they will then also work to develop meeting sessions with the public. We can have a meeting if it's limited to a specific population of no more than 25 people in a building. They have to be socially distanced. We're recommending possibly using the Dunn Center. If you want to participate from the public, you would have to put in a reservation in advance, and we would limit it to total number of people at each of the sessions. If we got overwhelming response, they said that they would be able to accommodate that and have multiple sessions, possibly one during the day, another on an evening, even one on a weekend, to accommodate as much public input as desired, and still be able to socially distance and not turn away any resident that wants to give their input. So as soon as we gather our initial information, that will give them something more to work with. They're going to come up with some design feasibility ideas, and then go to the public and ask them for their input, as well as the input that they've already received from the staff. So we are moving ahead with that right away. They're very excited about the project. They had previously done some work here, some feasibility or sketch studies back in 2016, and several other staff members were involved then. So they're excited about the concept of maybe making this project move forward. The last item, it was brought up last meeting, I believe, or the meeting before, cable franchise agreement, where a town hall style meeting was held. It was not a public meeting per se, with all the board members being required to be there, and there was no formal agenda. It was just supposed to be a general information session. And from what I have heard from the staff and folks out there, is that there was still a lot of unanswered questions about the cable franchise agreement. What I'm proposing to try and get as much info out to the residents is that I will put together a final synopsis that can be posted on the website, showing exactly what the agreement is, what it is not, and the types of things that we can negotiate and we cannot. Majority of that agreement are things that we don't really have any control over. They're governed by state and federal statutes and mandates. We don't have the ability to change somebody's cable billing or anything like that. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is that they are basically paying rent to utilize the township right-of-ways to have their cable system there. That's the gist of it. We can try and negotiate a few small items, but by statute, there's not much you can do. You can't go and ask for 10% or something like that. The maximum is a 5% based on their cable usage. Those are the things that are mandated. So what I'm suggesting to do is that I'll put this document out there and request that any resident want to email me with their questions, and I will take all the questions, compile them, and I will answer them and put it back out there on the website. I'll publish it and give it to the board. So I think at that point, I think everyone will have the information that they need, and then we can bring this back up and get it back on the agenda and approve this. This agreement has expired, I believe, in 2018. And we really do need to get this agreement signed and moved ahead. We are receiving payments from them. However, the payments we were receiving was based on what was in place at the time. So any additional money, let's say somebody had basic cable and they went to some advanced programming or something, we're not getting that commission on that advanced programming. We're getting what we were getting when the contract expired in 2018. So I don't know if it's a huge amount of money difference, but we can't go back and say we want that money now. They were obligated to continue along where they are. This is not something that the township can say, well, we don't like this agreement and Service Electric, pack up your wires and leave the township. We're not in that kind of situation where we're going to do that, where 95% of the residents would no longer have cable coverage in the township. That's not practical, and it would be an extremely unpopular decision for the board to make. So as I suggested, I'll be putting this document out there and making sure that we get as much public input from everyone, and then I'll bring all that information back to the public and to the board, and we'll get it on an agenda and hopefully move this forward. I think I've talked long enough. I think that's all I have for this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Public comments, non-agenda items.
Dave, I'm sorry, if I could just bring one thing up for the board's consideration. I just need to revisit with the announcement that I'm sure everybody has seen by Governor Wolf late last week, his recommendation of fall sports being postponed at least until January for fall sports. That does impact the plan that I had previously presented to the board for the rental of our sports fields. I am getting questions and requests and people trying to find out if they're going to be allowed to use our fields for their fall sports. I had been waiting, so that recommendation came out about mid to late last week, and then on Friday I had been waiting for the PIAA to give their input on it, and unfortunately they pushed off their official decision and they basically just postponed mandatory workouts for a period of 2 weeks. So I would just like to get the board's thoughts on it. What we have been doing, as you all know, everything that I've been bringing and presenting to you thus far has been, we have been in general doing what the governor has recommended, which has worked well for us up until now. I'm just looking to get some guidance because I am getting requests of people wanting to use the fields. My recommendation at this point would be to follow the governor's recommendations and continue to keep an eye on things as they update. But I know that we're seeing that it's not just voluntary sports. A lot of collegiate level sports are canceling or postponing their fall seasons. Professional sports are canceling or postponing. And I feel like every day we're seeing another announcement of a school sports league who have positive cases that have to then have everybody quarantined. So I don't find it's inconvenient and it's unfortunate, and I feel bad for the organization. So I'm just looking to get some guidance here on what the board would like for me to do, if you'd like for me to go with the governor's recommendation and push off fall sports.
My feeling is we should continue to follow the governor's lead.
Thanks, Greg. Laurie, one clarification. So the governor's recommendation was for basically the school leagues and organized athletics. Mm-hmm. You could still have, per the recommendation prior, you could still have social leagues where they have their own facilities, own setup and approval to use the facility. Adults and other things could use that for recreation.
I believe that that's accurate. I know that his guidance is kind of more geared towards like school leagues, but
like an adult softball league, Lori, would that fall into the category of okay to still continue?
See, I'm not real clear on that. I would have to do some additional research on that. And I will say we don't have fall adult leagues. We're talking solely youth that play in the fall on our fields. I would not say that I would allow the adult leagues that are playing now to finish out their spring season, would be my recommendation. They're almost done anyway. Yeah. It's just a question of whether or not it really just impacts, it would be football, baseball, and soccer.
And
we're talking mainly trout run,
Pineland Park, Farming Ridge.
And Laurie, I mean, the school districts are doing the same thing with their fields.
So the school district, I talked to Lagath yesterday. He responded to, I had followed up with him on email to see if he was making any changes. And at this point, they have not made any changes, but I don't know the details of that, whether or not he anticipates that there will be a change. Just right now, he's going ahead as planned. Now, again, PIAA has not made any call yet. And at this point, I think the school is doing what are considered to be voluntary practices right now, so that doesn't really apply yet.
Yeah, hopefully we get an answer from the PIAA this week.
I think what you're going to see is this is going to be continually changing. And reality is certain schools are going to make the decision themselves. And then what ends up happening is it kind of boxes the other schools in their corner because there's not going to be enough teams to play. Reading School District's already eliminated sports for the fall.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools that have, and you're right. No one's going to be able to play anybody because there's going to be 3 teams left. Yeah.
I just really see this snowballing. Just my experience, I see this snowballing, and I doubt there will be fall sports in this year.
Thanks, Greg.
I think the next 2 weeks, we're going to have a lot of additional information. At that point in time, PIAA is going to have to make a decision. I mean, because we're going to be at the end of August. And I know right now, I don't think they quite even have their contingency plan in place. I would wait and see what the next 2 weeks have to offer for us. We'll have a better idea of who's doing what and then make a decision. But
let's get more data.
I'm not overly optimistic at this point in time that we'll be using our fields.
Yeah. Let's get more data and make a decision, Dave, on our next meeting in August.
Okay. Yeah, the only other...
There's still some questions out there.
Yeah, John, the only other choice I would say is, we've been pretty consistent in following the governor's recommendations. So if an announcement comes out tomorrow that says to do this, I think we should follow the governor's recommendations.
Yeah. I think we should buy another 2 weeks. I don't think that'll hurt.
Yeah.
So I think we're putting Laurie in a tough spot here, though.
Yeah.
So what is Laurie telling these organizations that want answers that we'll decide in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine.
Laurie?
Yeah.
Yes, I can do that. I will tell you that I've also told the organizations that it's probably wise to consider what the governor is recommending because our track record has been to really err on the side of what.
I'll just say we'll make a decision August 24th.
Yeah.
We'll make a decision August 24th. The board will make a decision August 24th.
Okay. And what
This way too, Greg, we'll get feedback from residents because this wasn't on the agenda. So I'd rather us get feedback from residents as well. That's why I give it the 2 week buffer in case residents have any. So I think that's why we should wait 2 weeks just to see what the residents think.
Thanks, John. I mean, Laura, are you okay with that? I mean, I think it is going to be following the governor's recommendations, but we just need some clarifications on what they are.
Yeah, but put it on the agenda. This way we'll get feedback from residents.
Sure. Yep.
Thank you. All right. Public comments.
Okay, we have 2 more public comments. The first one is from David Hughes.
I would like to commend the Exeter Township Police Department with regards to the handling of this past Sunday's social display. Excellent job. As a community, we can be very proud of our police force. Special thanks to those who gave up their personal time to ensure that our community was safe.
Okay. And then the last one is from Glenn Hoover, and this is he submitted a voicemail, so I will play that, which I think is the first voicemail we've had since we've been doing this. So really, it plays well.
Good morning. This is Glenn Hoover, 1080 Acres, Birchburg, PA. I'm calling in regards to 2 issues. One was when they give a treasurer's report and someone objects to the issue in the treasurer's report, I think it would be fair to someone who can't come to the meetings, that doesn't have access to the YouTube, that the minutes would include the issue that that person objects to it and wouldn't go along with okay in the treasurer's report. Just a brief of what it was that person objects to. Number 2, the chairperson, Mr. Spees, made comments on the July 13th Supervisors meeting in regards to insurance claims. for the Reading Country Clubs. And I want to go on record to make sure that if this is included in his comment, that the existing lawsuit that was filed by the previous township manager in regards to the money plus legal fees for the sum of $750,000 to Travelers Insurance. And it's my understanding with the previous solicitor that you had that you didn't retain in our conversations, the insurance company wants to pay the claim. But for some reason, there are two people or more that were involved that are exercising executive privilege. I find this to be very annoying because if this is the key to lock out the payment to the township, then why are we participating in that insurance claim? And I'm trying to get some help from these state reps who I have a call in for us to explain to me why it can be used this way. Like I say, if someone's done wrong, I don't have a problem with that. Everybody makes mistakes. But for that kind of a figure and mistake, if it means they have to be held liable for it, that should be done that way. I mean, there's $150,000 in legal fees alone. That's in that $750,000. So I would stress wholeheartedly that insurance claim be included in that. I'd appreciate some comment back from it. I don't care if it's just a telephone call from Dave or whoever's going to handle that. I'd appreciate it. Thank you for your consideration and have a good day.
Very good, thanks. Yeah, I think the treasurer's report one I'd like to comment on. I mean, typically when we have a discussion in there, I think Laurie tries to capture that in the minutes if there is an issue with it. I mean, so I think, yeah, we'll try to be vigilant about that. Yeah, and I did bring up the issue on the insurance claim. We have several outstanding claims, I believe, at the sewer plant. There's one or two pending, I think, at the country club from issues that happened there. So maybe, Jeff, you might have this all the top of your head, but it would probably be good to, update everybody on the status of outstanding insurance claim sometime in the near future, or get back to Mr. Hoover directly. Okay. Any comments, Jeff? Or
yeah, I got the rundown on this particular case today. There is another outstanding claim involving the country club, and there are two different claims, I believe, associated with the sewer plant that are ongoing. Our previous attorney, they were handling it. They're in the middle of that. Those were some items that I'll be touching base with them to see the status so we can clear those things out. Unfortunately, sometimes the insurance claims that are tied in with these things do extend out quite a bit of time. But I'll follow up on those items and be able to report back to the next meeting if there are any others that I missed. I think there's 4 major claims out there that they're still handling.
Great, thank you. Any other public comments, Laurie?
Nope, that was it.
Very good. Supervisor reports. Michelle?
I believe we covered I covered everything that I was going to cover.
Good. Thanks, Michelle. Oh.
Yeah, that's all for tonight.
John?
Just want to commend Chief Morris for him and his team. He showed great leadership during the rally on Sunday, and I also want to commend the students and youth that was involved. I knew a lot of the kids that did that march and organized it, so to their credit, they got a permit, they did everything the right way. They had a good march, and I just, think it's great that they exercised their First Amendment right to do that, and I think it goes a long way, and I give them a lot of credit for what they did, and I think it was a great thing. What makes this country the greatest country in the world, what you saw on Sunday, kids being organized, and it was nonviolent, and I'm proud of the township, and I'm proud of our police force, and I'm also proud of the students that participated in that event. So hats off to Chief Morris and the fire police and everybody else that was involved.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm just going to agree with John. I was there, and the kids did a great job. The student leaders are setting the tone for the event, that it was to be peaceful, and Chief Morris and the officers also did a good job. I thought it was a positive for the township overall. I mean, there were some exchanges between the two groups, which I don't know that you really like to see, but in the end, I think it was a productive time, and it was a great learning experience for the student leaders trying to organize something like that.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Joe?
Yeah, third to congratulate and thank the chief with his team, and really everybody was involved. I know a bunch of the kids as well, and it's nice to see that they were able to organize it, and it was peaceful from everything that I read, the reports. So again, well done by everyone. In conjunction with that, Jeff and I we're arranging a sit down with the new superintendent of the school district. So we're going to be doing that at the beginning of September. What we really want to do is just make sure that we have really a working relationship with both boards. We have the same customer base, so we want to make sure that we're working together. I can tell you that has not always been the case. So we want to make sure that we have a very, very strong working relationship with the school board. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Joe. And yeah, just a couple comments. I want to welcome certainly Liz and Beth to the first meeting here. So welcome, and we'll have quite a few more. Storm cleanup, Clarence. I think Clarence and his team, they're doing a fantastic job. I mean, I think clearing the roads and getting things cleaned up. Again, Chief, with the demonstration, I saw all the officers that were involved, and I think it went very well. And Lori, I think the tweaks you made with the meeting apparently went well tonight. So congratulations and thanks, and just thank Jeff and the entire team for pulling everything together. So that's it for me. So motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night. Night.